Hey, Josh from the Automotive Clinic. Alright, so we're back. First day back, and we've got another good one. So this is a 2008 Toyota Prius. The vehicle got towed in. Customer of ours that owns a lot of vehicles. And this car has got no ignition. So what's happening with this vehicle is when the ignition's getting put on, it's blowing a 15 amp fuse in the engine bay. So if you press this ignition button here, this switch, it will blow a 15 amp fuse in the engine bay. Fault report doesn't show much, just a bunch of battery voltage faults because it's 12 volt battery. What we found here, and this normally sits like this, is this fuse here, this second one down that sits there in that engine block, which is AM2. We'll show you here, is what blows. Now that blows as soon as you put the ignition on, or try to put the ignition on. So you don't actually get any ignition on this vehicle. We put our short tester across it, and it does have a dead short to it when the ignition gets turned on. So going from there, we go straight to diagrams to see what this fuse actually feeds. So we'll take everyone over to all data, and I'll show everyone what this fuse feeds. So what we're looking at here is our ignition relay. Now this ignition relay is internal to the control module in the front fuse box. So you've got to be careful here. This ignition relay isn't accessible, but the AM2 fuse is. So as you can see, that ignition relay feeds this leg of the fuse here, which feeds this engine control system. Now this is your direct feeds for your engine computer. It also feeds left hand side of dash, ignition fuse 7.5 amp, which we removed that fuse, pulled the fuse out inside the vehicle, the 7.5 amp fuse, repeated the test, same thing, still a dead. So that rules out the rest of these legs here. So that rules out all the exterior lights, anti-theft controls, ABS, cruise system, SRS, etc. So this we're not worried about. We also removed a connector on this side, which did nothing at all. So we know that our dead short is going through this engine control system fuse. Now, wiring diagrams for the engine ECU, that leg of the circuit is fused off that power feed. That leg of that circuit is all your main power feeds for the ECU. So that powers up coils, etc. So what we were worried about next was either a shorted component on the engine, pulling through the computer and shorting that leg of the circuit, or a shorter ECU. So on that was to remove the plugs of the engine computer, which is down here, as you can see. So there's 4 plugs in there. They're a pain to get to, but we yanked those plugs out, and the same thing. So from there, we've got 2 options. We've either got a short in the fuse box, or we've got a short in the harness. So we've got wiring. All the wires that run down from the bottom of this module here, down into these connectors, go through up this fuse box. Some of them go through this connector and through the harness all the way into the vehicle. Now wiring's all good all the way into the vehicle, up to the engine ECU, through all the bulkhead connectors, etc. So there's nothing wrong there. And what we found is, we believe, the problem on this leg of this fuse here. So we'll show everyone what's happening here. What we've got, and this is going to be a bit hard for me to show one hand, I might have to set this up. We'll grab the meter out. What we've got on the bottom of this module is a whole lot of surface mounted relays. So our ignition relay is actually in this. There's a part number. It's a relay integration module. And each set of these pins, so these 2 big pins and the 2 small pins, are a power feed, so a load side and the control side of a relay. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 to match 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the fuse is what we're worried about, being this AM2 here, lines up with that second set there. So if we go across, that is our worried relay, and that on the end is a main power feed. We've checked that. So I'm going to grab a meter and we're going to show everyone what we've found here. So I've just got this module set up in a way that I can show what's going on here. So I've got 1 lead of the meter hooked to the main power feed on that unit, and what we're going to find, I won't go over and check the rest of the pins because I've already done it, but what we should have on this is going to be a pain, is we should have one of these load side pins will have direct continuity like that to the power feed of the relay, same as a normal relay. So this load side pin, the furthest one on the first fuse, which is fine, has direct continuity to that. Now if I skip the dud one and we go to number 3, you'll see same thing, direct continuity. Number 4, same thing, direct continuity. If we go to number 2, we have no continuity to that actual pin there. So what I think is happening is I think we're getting a lot of voltage drop across that because we've got no continuity. So that circuit is obviously backfeeding when you press the ignition, and in my opinion is shorting and blowing that 15 amp fuse. I believe it's backfeeding from, and this is our issue, that we're missing that input there. So no good, no good, good, no good, good, and then if we go to number 3, it's also good, and 4 is also good. Now, information about how these units work, but that's based on what we're looking at, and that is what I think we've got going on. So I'm going to recommend a replacement relay integration module. That's part number, if it can be bought, if we can get one, and we're going to take it from there.